What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you so much for listening each and every week to the show. I'm sure you guys have subscribed on iTunes or Google Play or checked out the YouTube channel now for Growing Up Gaming, so you can watch them there /listen. There's just an image, but you can listen to it. Again, some people ask for it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and hopefully someone is listening to it that way. And if you are, I appreciate it. You can do the whole like and subscribe stupid thing there too. Either way, it's cool with me. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Nathan Thomas. I met this man on Twitter. He has been in the Twitter sphere of all the friends between Brock and Sean. I've seen he's been on Sean's show before, so I reached out to him, said, hey, would you like to be on my show? And of course, he was nice enough to be on. We talk a lot about Star Wars, so if you don't like Star Wars, just delete the episode now. I'm just kidding. Please don't delete the episode. He's a really cool guy, and we chat a lot about Star Wars games and Xbox, and it's a good time. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Nathan Thomas. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Was it a family member, a buddy, a kiosk at a store? Do you remember what initially got you started?
I believe so. The memory that I have is that of us renting a Nintendo Entertainment System console. And that was the first memory I had. So my brother and sister, I remember, were playing it. And I got to choose a game to take home too. And that was my first memory of gaming.
That was back in the day when you could actually rent consoles.
Oh yeah,
because that was, it's just so odd to think renting a console, let alone now. Obviously, video rental places are dead, right? So I mean, you occasionally see them. Like I saw like a mom and pop shop one the other day, and I was just like, holy shit, you guys are still up! Like that's crazy. That of course it's in some like not so cool part of town, but I mean, still, I'm like the fact that there's a storefront that is able to sustain a business by still renting DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever it is. I'm like, dude, good for you guys. But yeah,
it's a lot of overhead. You know what I mean?
So much. And I mean, it's buying the stock, making sure you can rent it enough times to make your money back, then hopefully selling it to get it out of your store. Like, I remember there was a place because I used to work at Game Crazy, which was part of Hollywood Video. This was still when Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and all these stores were open. There was a place called Family Video, which apparently is still relevant.
We have Family Videos in my hometown area of Peoria. We still have them.
Yeah, in Rockford they had them. And, like, I remember for whatever reason, Family Video had some cool shit, like, right before I left. Like, they had good prices on it. They had decent price on used games. Like, they weren't bad at all. And I remember just thinking, like, this could sustain here as long as there's still a need for this type of stuff, because Hollywood Video obviously is gone, Blockbuster's gone. So, I mean, there's like smaller chains that are still doing it. Redbox kind of works, I mean, the only benefit with Redbox is the fact that it takes up no space, there's no employees, but it's just still weird. I don't know. I've only been to a Redbox one time to buy a video game, because like they had deals on a used copy of Mad Max for like $5 or something, and I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, this game's hopefully worth $5, so I went and I did that, and that's the only experience I've ever had with Redbox. I've never gone and rented anything from there, never rented a game from there, nothing. So I know some people who have, and they do it all the time, and now it's weird because certain locations like that, I mean, obviously this is the same with video stores back in the day where you had this gigantic ass line, but also you had, I'm sure during their heydays, like 4 or 5 people working the counter, trying to get people in and out. But I've seen lines at a Redbox, which is just weird. Like, that's just weird as hell to me.
I've never seen a line at the Redbox, but I mean, it is a pretty simple concept. I've used it a number of times. My wife has too. Just to kind of see what's out there, see what's playing, and it's convenient to be like, hey, let's look at the app real quick and see what's at what Redbox. We can go rent a movie or something. I've only rented maybe one game or possibly 2. Mostly just it's movies for me from Redbox.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I for a while there, like, I will either catch it on HBO or Stars or whatever if I don't care to own it, but, like, if I want it right away, I'll just buy it. But I'm kind of in that mode where, allegedly, I used to download things. Allegedly. I no longer do any of that stuff just because I'm like, whatever, I'll just wait for it to be on HBO, or if I really give a shit to see it, I'll just go buy it. But very rarely do I actually, like, go buy a movie I didn't see in the theater. Like, it's very, very rare. So most of the time I'll just wait for it. But yeah,
I did that recently, actually.
You bought a movie you didn't see?
So I bought 2 or 3 movies I didn't see. So it was on Black Friday. You know, they have, like, the deals.
Oh, right.
And I've gone to only buying the 4K Blu-rays now, and so they had deals on was it Fate of the Furious and the new Planet of the Apes movie and the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I hadn't seen either of those 3 movies.
Oh wow!
And because just you get busy, you never get a chance to go out to the theater to see them or whatever. And I just finally a couple days ago watched the Fate of the Furious. And still have yet to see the Planet of the Apes movie or the other one, but I bought them all.
Right.
So I'm assuming that I'm going to like them. I'm hoping that I'm going to like them because I own them now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the only part is like, man, I bought a garbage movie, which, I mean, again, I don't think that's happened. I mean, for example, I have bought my kids movies that we haven't seen in the theaters, but also that's not for me. Like, my daughter wanted the Emoji movie, and I was just like, whatever, I'm not watching this, so go ahead. It was like a Christmas gift, so I was just like, and that same thing, Best Buy, sale, 4K Blu-rays, sure, why not? And, yeah, I mean, with stuff for the kids, it's fine. The last movie I bought for myself that I did not see was Avatar. Like, I didn't see it in the theaters, everybody wouldn't shut the hell up about it, bought it, and I was like, okay, that was cool, but, again, yeah, I mean, otherwise, that's fine. I mean, that's our family time, though, is we do a lot of movies. Like, we go to the movies a lot. We already have tickets for Avengers. Like, that's our big thing. But, yeah, back then, it was completely, Friday nights. Let's go to the store, pick out something. The only difference is, going to a store, you could shop around. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. You can go shop around and look for what you want and then get in line to check it out. At a Redbox, if you straight don't know what you want to watch, you're holding up everybody else behind you because you're just browsing. You're just like, oh, what do I want to watch? And I've seen that toe tapping, looking at their watch like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he taking forever?
Because they could be, I've been a couple times where I just want to return a movie, but I'm waiting because these people are at the Walmart kiosk or whatever, and they're like, what's going on the Redbox here? And they're looking through every page, and I just kind of see them, and then they don't get anything and just walk away. And I'm like, I just want to return this movie. I was here for 10 minutes. Okay.
Right. Can they have like a drop-off window like they used to have at the video stores? Like, can there just be a drop-off thing on the side of a Redbox if you don't need to like rent something? Just like, I just need to drop this off. Click, click. There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. Just add another screen on the side of it. Like, they can take care of the outside of things, be able to get stuff redeemed on one screen and one side of the unit, but then give me another side where we can just return it. Exactly. And that's all it's for. Exactly.
There you go. We just gave Redbox an idea. They should give us a commission for that. That's all right. But yeah, I mean, renting consoles was such a... Again, now I think about it, because, I mean, nobody would let you borrow a console, like, ever. Like, no friend would be like, sure, you can borrow my Nintendo for a weekend, so then you had to rent them. And I remember I never rented a console only because... to convince my parents to let me do it. Like, it was also weird because there was, like, a huge upcharge. It was, like, some of them you had to pay a deposit. Some of them you had to do, it was like $25 for a day or a weekend or whatever it was. Like, it was just more money. So I just remember my parents being like, yeah, we're not going to do that,
Well, in addition to the console, so when we rented them here, I think the deposit was something like $100 or maybe even $50 or something like that. But there was also a deposit for the games themselves. So, like, if you were to rent a game, there was another $20 deposit in case you didn't return the game or something like that, too. So
really? There was a deposit on the games themselves?
Yeah, I remember having that, especially early on. Before, I mean, there was a lot more, but as they were starting out doing, like, especially when they went to the DVD, like the PS1, PS2 kind of era, they especially had those deposits there because they were more expensive, I guess. I don't know.
Did you go to like an actual mom and pop shop, or did you go to like a Blockbuster? Because I don't remember Hollywood Video or any of those places having those on the games themselves. Consoles, absolutely. There was like a deposit on those. I just don't remember the games. That's kind of crazy.
So where I grew up, it was a mom and pop shop. It was called Video World. It was open for a very long time and just recently closed. And that was basically, just owned by these people. They got video game stuff. They had like one or two consoles that they could rent out, and then like one copy of each game. Rarely they had two copies. And it wasn't like a Blockbuster or anything. I didn't get my first Blockbuster card until I was a teenager. Had my own car, drove around, I was like, I want to get a Blockbuster card. And so I went over and got one of those when I was like 16, 17.
That was like the only card you could get, because like
exactly.
that was like you probably were the coolest friend ever because you had your own Blockbuster card and you had your own car. You were probably like the coolest person in the world at the time. At least somebody probably thought that.
I was going in. I was renting my DVDs and my probably PS3 movie or PS3 games or Xbox 360 early generation games at that time.
You're so
maybe
fancy.
I can't remember. I don't remember what it was all about.
But yeah, I mean, that's because there was a bunch of mom and pop places, and then like obviously there was like those started slowly fading away. I mentioned last time that with like I had a grocery store that used to have a video rental place inside of it, which was weird. But I would go in and there'd be like magazines, and then to the left there was like a huge section for the video store, and then the rest of the grocery store. And it was just really odd because, like I said, we went there a lot just because like Friday tradition was like go there, get one of those like pizzas that the grocery store would make, and then like come home and eat that and watch the movie or play a game. Like that was kind of like Friday night every Friday night for years. So, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So you also mentioned brothers and sisters. Did they play games with you? Were they encouraging, or were they kind of like doing their own thing and you were the guy playing games by yourself?
So my closest sibling is 7 years older than me. And because of that, I was kind of doing my own thing most of the time. However, it's because of that we got like the rental for that NES console, and they were wanting to check it out. I didn't really understand much about it at the time. I don't think beforehand.
Right.
But I did get to choose a game, and the game that I remember choosing was Darkwing Duck for the NES. And I don't remember much about it, but I remember loving that cartoon and being like, I want to play this. And I don't think I got very far at all, but I just remember like the first screen with him kind of just on a pogo stick, maybe? I can't remember. Maybe he was jumping around. But it was pretty fun. So my brother, he's 7 years older than me, and as I grew up gaming,
that's the name of the show. That's crazy. Go ahead.
He got a Nintendo 64, and I bought a controller and some other stuff with that with my allowance monies. I'd save it up like I want to buy a Rumble Pack and different games, and then eventually he decided to stop buying consoles, and I wanted a PlayStation, and so I bought a PlayStation and just kind of went from there. But my brother obviously was kind of the one that was that gateway a little bit, and he was also into technology. And because of that, I played on PC a little bit, but most of my time always gravitates towards consoles because I don't know. I like to have a separation between work and play pretty clearly defined. Work is me sitting at a computer desk. Play is me on a couch or something on a TV. You know what I mean? I'm not checking emails or anything right now. I'm chill. Right.
No, I'm right there with you. Like, when I was younger, it was more console. Very rarely did I play anything PC just because growing up, didn't have a lot of money, didn't have our own personal computer until till I was basically in like middle school or high school. And also it was one of those computers that's like, yay, we can access the internet. It wasn't like a nice computer to actually like play games on or any shit like that. It was just like a super basic computer. But yeah, I mean, like I'm right there with you though too, because I'm in the same job where I'm on a computer all day, every day, working. Now, I'm not also too, for me, I prefer a controller. I know that's blasphemy for some people. Some people hear that and they go, "You don't like keyboard and mouse? What the fuck's wrong with you?" Like, I just didn't grow up playing that way. So it's just foreign to me to play it that way, whereas some people would say mouse and keyboard is the ultimate way to play games, blah, 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 whatever. But I'm right there with you, where I would prefer sitting down, have a controller in my hand, playing a game right in front of me, knowing it works. Well, the thing that sucks is knowing it works now is sometimes a crapshoot, but like just knowing that I put a game in, I don't have to worry about any graphic settings. I don't have to worry about any bullshit of this game not working for this, and this. Again, that's kind of changed recently, but, like I just prefer how simple it is to play on a console. Put a game in, grab a controller, go. No weird fancy, nothing, right? So, of course, there's people out there who play on PC and say, I'm ridiculous for saying that shit. That's fine. I mean, I got buddies that one of my buddies gave me a graphics card, like flat out gave it to me. And it wasn't even a bad card. I was like, you don't want it? He's like, no, dude, if you can get use out of it, go ahead, I'll just give it to you. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I didn't realize that he just bought like a $900 graphics card, and that's the reason why. I'm like, Jesus, like you could buy a PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X for that amount, but you just bought a graphics card. Just a single thing for your computer. You spend as much money as two of those consoles, which to me is insane, but to him, that's his jam. That's his go-to. That's what he does for his fun. And I'm like, are you doing 4K? Are you doing VR? And he's just like, no. He just has like a normal ass monitor. He just wants the games to look as ridiculous as they can. And, I mean, some people prefer it that way. I'm cool. Like, again, now I'm not going to say I've gotten that snobbery, but like, I have a 4K TV, I have an Xbox One X, and Far Cry 5 looks absolutely ridiculous. Like, it looks stunning. And of course, people will say, oh, I've been playing 4K games for years. I don't care. I just put in Far Cry 5 and it worked, and it looks ridiculous. That's what I wanted, and thankfully console games have now gotten to the point where at least some people will say, oh, at least, I am running it in 4K, like those PC nerds that say, oh, I got the best thing, I got the best graphics. I get it, but now consoles have gotten to the point where that disparity is getting, closer to the point where would I want to spend $500 for an Xbox One X, or do I want to go spend $2,000 for an awesome gaming PC? Like, I'll just do that. And I can sit on the couch. You know what I mean? That's fine. So, yeah, I mean, at least your brother was cool enough to kind of encourage that and everything. Was your sister younger than you, or was she older as well? Or are you the youngest person? Youngest sibling?
I'm the youngest. So, my sister, she didn't game at all, really, as I remember when we grew up. But it was just basically me and my brother. He had a Game Gear as well, and he had the Game Boy originally. And I inherited the Game Boy, but he had the Game Gear. And I was always jealous of the color screen and just how wide it was, and I just thought it was kind of cool. He had this little battery pack that he had on it, that it had to be fantastic because he screwed a battery pack onto the bottom of the console.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that battery pack the size of, like, I don't know, a case of bricks? Like, how, like, dude, the Game Gear was such a, like, it's crazy to think that Game Gear was, technology-wise, more advanced. It had a color screen.
Oh, yeah.
It was backlit. But, dude, how many batteries did that thing just blast through?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you just had because it was 6 AA's, 3 on each side. And if you were just to play off those AA's, it wouldn't last you an hour. Or maybe it might last you an hour.
Right.
From what I remember. But, again, this is like 20-year-old memory. And I just remember having to go through and blow through a few of those myself because, there were times where he was out and I wanted to play NBA Jam or Aladdin on the Game Gear because, it was color, it was backlit, it was fantastic.
Right.
But the Game Gear was really ahead of its time in a lot of ways. And
very ahead.
I'm really surprised that it didn't take off. Sega, you look at the Dreamcast and the Game Gear, right? Those were both two consoles that were ahead of their time. But it makes me sad that they're no longer, around. Anyway, That's another tangent for another day.
No, I mean, it sucks because, like I said, Game Gear, I think it was Dreamcast definitely was ahead of its time. Like, it was doing some next level shit at a time when technology hadn't caught up to it to show the true potential of the console, right? Like, it had a modem built in. It had support for keyboard and mouse. It had, like, the first, like, that memory, the VMU or whatever that you would put in, which Xbox basically took the idea of putting a memory card in a controller. Like, the only problem is, I mean, I won't say this about Dreamcast, because Dreamcast had the software to kind of back it up, you know? Like, Dreamcast had some ridiculously good games. Dreamcast had really good games. Game Gear, I think that was the problem, is, like, software. I think it was really ahead of its time. The battery thing obviously sucked. You know, people had battery packs. There was, like, some crazy shit you can get for Game Gear, but I think it was just, like, the software for it, I'm sure was, like, again, with it being so advanced, I bet it was probably more money to develop for that than it was for Game Boy at the time, just because Game Boy didn't have to worry about color, or the graphics weren't as, you know, complex on a Game Boy as they were a Game Gear. Obviously, install base, you know, Game Boys were everywhere and Game Gears weren't, so I mean, that kind of screwed it up too. I mean, similar in a way with what happened with Vita, right? Like, Vita was good. It tried to do the console experience on the go, but it wasn't more expensive for it to develop for. Did it have an install base? Did people, you know, give a shit about it? I know that the attach rate for Vita is really high. Like, people who have a Vita own a ton of shit for it, so good for them. But just when you're looking at developing a game, do you develop a game for a console that has, let's just throw out a figure, like 3 million, you know, consoles sold, or 12 million consoles sold? You know what I mean? Like, that's probably what happened with Game Gear. Because again, like, some of the games that were on it were pretty good as far as a mobile version of the actual console version of the game. You know what I mean? Like, I personally didn't play NBA Jam, but I can imagine it being better than any Game Boy version of what an NBA Jam would be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't play the Game Boy version, obviously, but just the colors that were on there, and then I liked the fact that it was like that horizontal layout. So you had it kind of like the Switch in a lot of ways, where it had the controls on the side of the screen, and how the Vita also did it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Game Boy, it was more that vertical or portrait type design.
Right.
So I liked the design a little better on that side too, because to me it was a little bit easier to hold, and just made more sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, buttons on the side of the screen instead of, you know, buttons all on the bottom and everything. I mean, depending on how giant your hands were, did your hands cramp up? Also, too, like, the green screen on, like, the OG big old brick Game Boy, like, that was, you know, odd at times. Like, that green filter, like, sometimes that would just throw people off. Obviously, when they started getting the different iterations of the Game Boy, like, apparently, I don't know if it was a pocket size or whatever, but in Japan, they had a Game Boy with a light built into it, like a backlight, almost like the Game Gear was. It wasn't in color, but it was like, I can't remember if it was a full-size Game Boy or if it was like their pocket or, you know, color version that was color, or that was backlit. But, I mean, the fact that the Game Gear was backlit, that alone was a big change, because if you didn't have a light for your Game Boy, you were relying on basically the perfect situation of light to be able to even see your damn game. Like, and then you'd have to screw with the contrast on some games to be able to see it better. Like, you know, obviously Game Gear was thinking way more ahead of time. Obviously the technology for, like, you know, batteries wasn't really around to help keep that thing up. But I mean, again, it was very much ahead of its time. I've said it before on the show. They had a TV tuner that they sold for it that literally had an antenna that came out of it and literally could watch TV on it. And I remember going to a campgrounds, and somebody had one, and I freaked out. I was like, holy shit, you have the TV tuner for that. Like, obviously, they're, like, highfalutin, and they're very well off. And I was like, holy shit, are you watching TV on your Game Gear right now? This is ridiculous. Like, this is crazy that this is a real thing. But everybody, and again, it sucks because Dreamcast tried all the accessories and tried doing different, unique, cool things like that, too. And, you know what I mean? Like, they just didn't really take off, or were they ahead of its time? Like, they had, you know, Seaman, like the talking to a game thing. They had that before anybody else did. And then obviously voice commands sort of happened for certain games, but I mean, they were trying it first. They had the keyboard and mouse that they had for it. They had, like, full online games that, again, granted they were on dial-up, which, to think now that gaming online happened over dial-up is insane to me. But yeah, I mean, you know, Dreamcast was trying shit too. Gotta give them credit for that.
Oh yeah, and with Sega and the Dreamcast, it was also just pretty cool because, back then with the VMUs and things like that, they were able to put that little LCD screen on the VMUs that you could kind of like page through some stuff and just kind of see things. I always thought that was kind of cool. The Dreamcast is a system I never had, and I always wished I was able to get one. But now I don't know, if I saw one at a reasonable price, I might grab one just for posterity's sake. But I really wish back in the day that I would have been able to get one, because that was always one of my white whales of missing a console.
Yeah, my buddy Mike, who I've had on the show, who was one of my best friends in Illinois, who worked at Game Crazy with me, I met him because he was coming in asking for obscure Dreamcast shit. Like, he was trying to collect all the Dreamcast stuff. And that's how I met him and started talking to him, because he'd come in and look for, like, that one weird game, just to complete a collection. And, don't worry. I mean, Sega will figure that out, and then they'll do a classic just like they did the Genesis, which, by the way, Sega Genesis Classic, I understand the game quality isn't as there as it is on the Super NES Classic, but the fact that they loaded all those games and the price they have it, and there was one version I saw that actually plays the Genesis carts, which is insane to me, that it plays those as well as has the emulation on it. It's cool that they're doing that, which, I mean, again, if it takes off, which obviously all the portable or the classic, quote unquote, classic consoles have taken off, maybe they'll do a Dreamcast one, or they'll just do a Dreamcast collection on disc or whatever. They'll figure it out.
Which they did do a Dreamcast collection on disc or something similar to that, I think, later on, but I don't remember what games were on it or even when. I think it was the 360 generation that came out, but I can't remember.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I know there's been... The sad thing is Sega's had 9 collections come out on every console for the last 10 years. For whatever reason, there's always Sonic's Mega Collection, and then Sega Ultimate Genesis Collection, and then Sega Ultimate Collection. There's just 9 different names, but I mean, there's all these different collections and stuff. One thing I've appreciated is Xbox Game Pass just has a bunch of classic Sega games on there. It has Comic Zone, Sonic CD, all the Streets of Rage, all of those 360 arcade games that they made, the individual downloads for them. They just put them on Game Pass, so that's also fun, because I'm just oh, hey, cool, a little bite-sized chunk. But yeah, buying a and the other thing too, I have been so weirded out by. There was a recent collection for Genesis that was announced, but Sonic, I think it's Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3. I think it's Sonic 3. Sonic 3 is not in the collection. For the only reason I found this out, which is insane, apparently Michael Jackson, that Michael Jackson, actually helped make music for Sonic 3, and I guess there's a license tie-up with getting that music released for the game. So that's why Sonic 3 apparently hasn't been in a ton of these collections, which is insane to me, to think that he had any involvement in a Sonic game, but I guess he did.
Well, I mean, when you gotta think about Michael Jackson back in the day, he was branching out a little bit, man. He was trying to get his toe wet and all kinds of different things, I suppose. Yeah,
I mean, just trying to do something. I mean, again, he had a ton of money, so he could probably do whatever the hell he wanted. Plus, I'm sure Sega wasn't going to turn down the fact if Michael Jackson was hey, can I do a Sonic song? They were probably absolutely. We would love to have that on a box art somewhere. Michael Jackson music created by Michael. Yeah, that obviously would help at that time, but now, that's all right. So then where did you, obviously I'm assuming you guys eventually ended up getting your own console. What console did you guys first own? Was it the NES, or I remember you mentioned a 64. What was the actual console you guys originally owned?
The first console that we owned, and I don't remember how we got this or why, but we had a Sega Master.
Gotcha.
That was the first console that we actually owned. And I remember, we had a Rambo game and something with a light gun and some boxing game, I think, too, on the Sega Master. But yeah, that was the first one that we actually owned. And I don't remember where that came from, but it was in my brother's room as well. So again, he's kind of the entry point for that. But yeah, that was the first experience. And I was always kind of more of a Sega fan, I guess, growing up too. Probably because we had the Master.
Right.
Because I didn't have a Super Nintendo. The 64
either.
was the first one.
Yeah, I was definitely. I blame the marketing team for making me fall for Sega because they were just like, Sega's cool, it's edgy, it's fast, Sonic's cool. Yeah, I mean, we all fell for that. But no, I mean, I enjoyed my Sega. I don't have any regrets for it. Obviously, looking back, SNES had now I wouldn't say better collection. I mean, most would probably say better. I would just say definitely more well known. Like, people look back. I mean, the only game that Sega, right off the bat, people go is Sonic. Like, I remember Sonic, but otherwise, like, some people don't have that memory of, like, any other particular Sega franchise. Whereas if you go, like, what games do you play on Super Nintendo? They could name 20 off the top of their head, but that's okay. I mean, I enjoyed my Sega. Was your brother pretty cool about you playing, like, obviously he was older, so he was kind of more in control of, like, getting or influencing the decision of what was in the house. Was he cool about letting you play, or was he kind of just like, get out of here, little bro, it's my stuff?
For the most part, he was cool, but if it was a game that was like single player, it was him playing. I was just kind of watching. But yeah, for the most part, he was like fine playing with whatever. But I was trying to think that back, like when it got to Nintendo 64 type days, any single player story, you were kind of like forbidden to play the single player mode for fear of erasing the save file, you know, which I never did. I was never that vengeful little brother that wanted to like erase his stuff and have a bad day. But yeah, he was always kind of worried, I think, that I would mess up something. Yeah,
that was the problem with. I mean, to be honest, because when games started saving their own save state, but then like memory cards for PlayStation were kind of the same thing. Like, you know, if a game had multiple saves, that was amazing. You know, I love that back in the day when that was a possibility, but then there were some games that didn't have that option. So yeah, if you had somebody else in the house playing, it was like, wait till I beat this game, then you can play. You know what I mean? And of course, you don't want to be a dick and erase somebody's game like my sister did my Final Fantasy save, but I've mentioned that before. She was like, I want to play Tony Hawk. Let me delete your Final Fantasy 7 save. I'm like, cool, I'm never playing this game again.
Oh.
I think I got past disc 1. I was in disc 2. And then I just came back and my save wasn't there. And I was just like, you know what? I'm good. Don't want to play this game ever again. And I still haven't to this day. It's one of those like bitter taste games. So you're just like, no, I can't do this. I put so many hours into it, getting the characters I want, getting everything right, leveling up all these people, and then that shit happens. So yeah, I kind of just was like, I'm good. I don't want to play this anymore. And then same thing happened with my son. Actually, did that same thing you were talking about? How games only have one save state. Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance for 3DS. Played probably 20 hours of it. And then came home, and he was younger at the time. He didn't realize. I wasn't mad at him. I was just like, well, that sucks. Go to continue, and it says, like, 30 minutes. I'm like, excuse me? And then I asked my wife, oh, yeah, he was playing with it earlier. I was like, never mind. I'll just go to YouTube and look up shit for this. I'm not doing this. Like, I mean, that's, it sucks, but at least, you were cool about, if your brother, and of course, I don't know if your brother was one of those, like, I'll beat you up if you mess with me, kid, brothers. But yeah, I mean, that's also not just cool. You're like, oh, there's only one save game. Gotcha. But also when 64 came out, that was when the couch co-op was completely more prevalent. Like so many games had the couch co-op. Do you remember any particular games you and him played together, like over the course of your childhood?
So, I mean, obviously GoldenEye, but that wasn't really couch co-op.
Right.
But
well, I mean, that's still a game that you would play together, either like cooperatively or against each other.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, that's the one that I remember playing the most with him and, having other people over and the 4-player madness that would ensue. Usually we played on like a smaller television, way smaller than any television you'd have today.
Right.
And we'd all be kind of gathered around, like, don't look at my screen. And all that stuff was kind of, yelling at each other and knocking each other in the head because they're looking at their what would they call it? It wasn't cheating. It was called something else.
Screen cheating.
Is this screen cheating?
Yeah, well, screen. Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I say screen cheating is because there's a game out there called Screen Cheating, where again, I mentioned it before. You have to look at the other player's screens to see where you are because every player is invisible. So you have to actually like see other people's screens to see that they're coming down the stairs, and you kind of like aim and think about where they could be on the screen. Cool concept, but it more is for couch co-op stuff, which unfortunately couch co-op isn't as, I'm not going to say like relevant, but like it's just harder to accomplish with everybody having lives and of course the internet being a thing. So yeah,
right.
It's all right. I mean, again though, like that's cool. I mean, you play GoldenEye. Do you remember any other particular games?
So later on, Perfect Dark, we did that. I don't remember if this had co-op, but I want to think it did, or I could be thinking of the GameCube version. Rogue Squadron on 64. I think the 64 version was just single player, but then like the GameCube had the Rogue Squadron multiplayer co-op,
right?
Possibly.
That sounds right.
We're playing that, and then Star Fox, but I think that was adversarial too. Star Fox 64. And oh man, I'm sure I'm forgetting something here, but those are the ones that I remember. And Star Fox I always loved because I like flying games, and those flight controls in that game were just fun for back in the day. And then having the open aerial combat in that one Independence Day level were always pretty fun.
Right. I for whatever reason, Star Fox I never got into the Star Fox games. I think I remember just because, like, for me, I just felt that, I mean, when they're open world, instead of, like, on rails, when they're open world, I think I can understand and have more fun with it. Like Ace Combat stuff, like, instead of you just going down this set path and doing this, and this. Like, if it's an open world air combat game, I think I like those a bit better. For whatever reason, Star Fox never attached to me. I know a lot of people. Me and Jace, who was just on the show, we talked about Star Fox and how he's just like, I talked about how for whatever reason when the Super Nintendo one came out and everyone like lost their shit, I just didn't understand. I was just like, I guess it looked prettier than other games at the time, but I didn't get it. And then Star Fox 64, I remember, was a big deal for 64 people because it came with the Rumble pack.
Yep.
Dude, Rumble, that's next level shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I remember what's funny is you mentioned Independence Day, and I remember an Independence game for PlayStation 1 that I played that's so bad. It's not a good game. But I remember, like, again, dude, Independence Day at the time, it was the shit. You're like, man, this game's going to be awesome. And of course that sucks because those licensed games, man, they get you. Sometimes.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Where could I get out and punch an alien and say that? There wasn't a button for that. I was just flying around shooting shit, and it was just, dude, you go back and look at that game, it's not good. It's really bad, and unfortunately, that's what happened, and it's okay. Again, did you ever, I mean, like, you kind of said earlier, I mean, Darkwing Duck, but there was those gems, though, like, your Aladdins, your Lion Kings, your, certain, like, licensed games were super good, but then there were some that were just trash. I remember those.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a licensed game goes, I mean, I was always a sucker for Star Wars. So anything that said Star Wars, I would pick up and play it. For every Knights of the Old Republic, there's a Yoda stories, for the cream of the crop and the bottom barrel.
Right.
But there's, I liked licensed games because I always enjoyed the properties that they had in there. So in addition to like Star Wars, anything that was like Indiana Jones, I wanted to check out, or if there was a movie that I was interested in, like Independence Day or Batman or something like that, I was like, I want to check those out too. And I remember actually we had Batman and Robin on the Game Gear, or maybe it was Sega Genesis era. But there was a Batman and Robin game I remember playing too. That was also pretty fun. I consider that kind of licensed as well, but the Star Wars games were always my jam. If I saw one, I always wanted to play it. There were some pretty terrible ones. Like if you look at the Super Star Wars games, like I played. They re-released them on the PlayStation 4
Right.
a little while back, and so I was playing through some of those games. And the Super Star Wars game is just tough.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember getting very far as a kid, and think I got maybe a level farther now as an adult. So it's just like I don't have time for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get you. Like the for Genesis, dude. By the way, like Sega didn't give a shit apparently about Star Wars because I don't remember a single Star Wars game on Genesis. Like, I love Star Wars. I don't believe so. I was all about Star Wars. Like, right before, when they had the box trilogy come out on VHS, and they started re-releasing, like, Power of the Force toys, you know, like the action figures that had that, like, blue, or not blue, it was, like, orange, yellowish, black Darth Vader on there. Like, I was obsessed with the shit. Right before they did the remakes with the new CG, which just no one wanted. We were just happy to see Star Wars in the theater again. But right around that time, I was obsessed with Star Wars. And I just remember thinking, like, damn, there wasn't any Star Wars games in Genesis. And then, yeah, I mean, as far as it goes with Star Wars games, I with any of those older games, the other thing, too, is, I mean, because I've gone back and, like I said, I was telling you, I was playing some of those games. Like, I played Comic Zone on Xbox Game Pass. And it just... It's not even a matter of, like, they're hard. They're just, the controls are just not that fluid, or they're too floaty, or it's just weird. Like, certain games just, the platforming isn't good, or it's just bad hit detection when you hit things. Like, there's just, like, I was playing Comic Zone and literally just playing it. And again, of course, when I was a kid, I was like, this is cool, it looks cool, whatever. But then I'm playing the game, I'm like, dude, this game is, like, super flawed. Like, it's not that good. Hit detection's not that good. Frame rate's garbage. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you think back at how awesome these games were, but also, too, sometimes you go back and they suck, or they're just not fun. And I want to say, I think I played a Super Star Wars game, and again, I was in the same boat with you. I was like, why the fuck is this so hard? And I mean, again, do I suck at games? Not really. Am I really, really good at games? Sorta. But also, when you have to realize when a game is just doing shit that's not cool. Like, why is this happening? Why is this person not being hit when I've clearly hit them? Like, and then the Star Wars, like, I think it's when 64 is when they started getting pretty awesome. And then there was, like, I don't remember any on PlayStation really, except for that Masters of whatever, like, that game
Masters of Terrakai, or Terras Kasi, or whatever. Fucking
trash. I was so pumped for that game. I was like, dude, Star Wars, it's gonna be great. And yeah, dude, that game was fucking trash. And yeah, I mean, of course, Xbox, that's when it was like, yeah, around, I want to say Xbox, PS2, GameCube, when some cool Star Wars shit started coming out, man. Like, all the, you know, they had the Xbox games. It was like PlayStation 2 was the one that got screwed. Because the only one they got that I remember, because I worked at the game store during the time, they got, like, the episode, like, 1 or episode 3 or whatever, like, they got the license game for that, but they didn't get any of the cool, like, Knights of the Old Republic. They didn't get Rogue Squadron. They didn't get Republic Commando. Like, they didn't get any of those games for whatever reason. I think we're actually, I strike that. I think Republic Commando came out for PlayStation 2. Did it?
No, that was only on Xbox.
Was it?
And PC.
Yeah, good for them, because that game was cool too. Like, and then of course, like I said, the GameCube had, it was mostly the the flight games though. I think that, you know, because Factor 5 or whatever worked on GameCube and basically nailed that formula down. Like, a lot of people like those games, and of course, everybody just wanted to do the Hoth level over and over and over again, because that was always cool as shit. But yeah, I mean, now, of course, it's hit or miss. I mean, people just want a Knights of the Old Republic 3. Just quit fucking around, BioWare, and just do it. Like, you have the EA license. What are you doing? Like, just do it. Why are we talking? Like, just go make that and make money, and everybody will love you. So, oh well. I mean, again, like, and it sucks because Genesis didn't really have them. I had Genesis, PlayStation, and then right when PS2 and all those, like, I worked at a game store, so I had all of them. But, like, for 2 console generations, I had garbage Star Wars games, and that just sucks.
Well, Jedi Power Battles came out on PlayStation. That was actually a pretty fun game, I remember. Did you ever play Jedi Power Battles?
I don't remember it. Like, what was that particular game?
So that game was a co-op game, actually. You could play with a buddy. And it was like a top-down-ish type game. Okay. And you'd run through the level. It was based on Episode 1 type stuff. So it'd be battle droids. You could play as Mace Windu, Ki-Adi Mundi, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. and those different Jedi Masters. And then it's just basically going out and just mowing through stuff. That game came out on PlayStation 1 as well as it was on Dreamcast. Dreamcast was the first Sega console that really got any games. Star Wars Demolition was also on Dreamcast. I think that also came on PlayStation 1. And Jedi Power Battles, though, that's where it was at. Like, that was a fun game. I played that game forever with my buddy, and I think we beat it, a number of times. But that was probably one of the first good Star Wars games that I really remember liking outside of the Nintendo 64. Because on 64 you had Shadows of the Empire, you had Rogue Squadron, and those were the two standouts. And I think there was a couple others that came out there too. I just can't remember which ones they would be. But yeah, that's kind of when the Star Wars games got good for me, was that Shadows of the Empire one was just like fantastic.
Yeah, like 64 is when they straight up were just pumping out good Star Wars games. And I don't care what you say about Pod Racer or anybody out there.
Oh yeah, Pod Racer was on there, that's right. That was a fun game.
It was fun. It was fun. And again, it wasn't like groundbreaking, but I mean at the time when people were absolutely losing their shit over Star Wars and the fact that there was a Pod Racer game, and that was like, as a kid, one of the cooler things about the Episode 1 thing. Like, as a child, again, as an adult, I'm like, it's okay. But as a kid, seeing like stuff like that, you were like, holy shit, that's awesome. And the fact that that came out with Episode 1 and it had a bundle that people, I'm sure they sold the shit out of the bundle just because it came with a Star Wars game. Like, 64 had so many good Star Wars games. And again, PlayStation was kind of getting like, I'm sure PlayStation and Dreamcast were kind of like getting the same games just because they were disc-based, they were different developments, like I'm sure they were sharing a lot of the games. But dude, 64 was getting just next level good Star Wars games. And, I mean, good for them, because after that, it seemed like GameCube and Xbox were just blowing up with Star Wars games. Now it's like, Force Unleashed wasn't bad. I didn't mind that at all. I remember playing the second one and beating it, but I don't remember much about it. But I just remember the idea of like, you're an apprentice of Darth Vader. I'm like, that's fucking cool. Like, let's do that. That's really cool. But yeah, I mean, otherwise now, what Star Wars games are coming out now? Anything?
I mean, so we just got Battlefront this last year, which was received poorly because of the whole microtransactions thing. Which is gone.
Right, but also, too, to be honest, like, people blow shit out of proportion, because I played that game, and I didn't see a single problem with it. I was like, again, I'm just that casual dude. I'm not, like, freaking out that I couldn't play as Darth Vader. Like, oh my god, am I so pissed that I won't buy this game? No. Also, I had EA access, so I kind of got a 10-hour trial, so I can't complain that much. But, dude, it was fine. The game was, like, completely overblown at how, like, I get some people were angry, but people made it seem like it was killing their mother that this game was coming out. Like, people were just losing their shit too much. But, yeah, I know that Respawn's working on a Star Wars game, which...
So Respawn is still going as far as I'm aware, but they recently canceled the other one that Amy Hennig was working on, which is
depressing.
Dumb. Yeah.
Which I'm sad.
Yeah. Why take it away?
I don't know, man.
Then there was 1313 before the whole Disney acquisition thing, and then that got canned, and there's just not been a great Star Wars game outside of the Battlefront type series in a while. And that's, I would love to see, like, if CD Projekt Red could make a Star Wars game, that would be amazing. I would never probably ever do anything else again. I'd probably get fired from my job. I'd probably, everything would just be all like fall to the wayside, because The Witcher is fantastic. And if you put the Star Wars license with that, that would just be the best.
Yeah, I'm completely, like, certain companies should definitely get the start. I mean, the fact that Respawn, because I personally love Titanfall 1 and 2, I thought the story of Titanfall 2 was amazing. So I hope that they can continue, like, with the story and the elements and, like, just how they crafted a single player for Titanfall. I thought they said it was third person, which I'm not against. I just know that Respawn, for Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2, they're both solid games, and I appreciate the hell out of them. So them getting a Star Wars game, to me, I was like, good job. The fact that Amy Hennig's game got canceled sucks because I'm sure it was going to be awesome. But it's single player, and EA, not too much of a fan of games that you play a storyline and beat it and get rid of it. So, unfortunately, they did what they did there. Otherwise, I don't know what else. Like, I think of other companies that could get it. I mean, of course, EA owns BioWare. Just make Knights 3, and everybody will be so happy. But I don't get that. But I mean, hopefully one day they'll figure it out, or that'll be their big mic drop. Like, we're sorry, Battlefront sucked. Or we're sorry nobody liked Battlefront. Here's Knights 3, and everybody will just shut up and love EA again for a minute.
Until there's a loot box in Knights, and then they are all mad again.
Yep, until there's a single microtransaction, and then they'll just be like, you fucks, and they'll just blow up the internet and how much they hate EA. Which is one thing that's weird, too, that I didn't get to. Shadow of War, right? The Shadow of Mordor sequel. Everybody had microtransactions. People lost their shit. I played and beat the entire game. I 100%ed the entire game. I didn't feel the single need to buy a single transaction, ever, right? So again, that's felt like another game that people were just way overblowing. Just yesterday, they announced, we're going to take them out. Like, I don't remember people still being pissed about the microtransactions now, but apparently they're just like, we're going to get rid of it now. Which, again, if it's a microtransaction and it's cosmetic only, sure, I know some games don't do that, and however you feel about that, whatever, but, like, for example, Titanfall 2 had microtransactions, they were completely cosmetic. Look at Overwatch, dude. Like, apparently, though, if you're Blizzard, you can't fuck up. Like, you can have microtransactions in a game, you can do all this shit, except for Diablo 3, apparently. That one was really bad. But however they do Overwatch, just everybody look at how they do Overwatch and just do that. Because obviously Overwatch is selling the shit out of microtransactions, and nobody's complaining about that.
Yeah, I think with them, you get so many, like, loot boxes that are given to you through progression, and then there's still people that drop the money to try to get the specific content every now and then, but they've kind of perfected the loop that keeps you playing to get loot boxes quickly enough, but if you want to get them as a boost, you can pay that money for them. Right.
I mean, it's just you got to find that fine line to not piss people off, but make people buy them without feeling bad that they bought them. Like, certain games, though, but also, too, for example, Halo 5, right? I love Halo 5, minus the single player, which I feel is trash. The multiplayer of Halo 5 is my favorite Halo multiplayer I've ever played. And I've played them all, and I just think Halo 5 was doing next cool level shit, and I really liked what they were doing, right? Their gold packs went on sale for their rec packs. Now, I had already played 500 hours or something of Halo. Like, it's insane how much Halo I was playing. And I got to a point where I could continue to play and get the rest of the stuff that I needed to finish out my complete set of rec cards. But also, too, in a way, I was like, dude, 343 did such a good job with this game. I've played 500 hours of a game I've paid $60 for. They don't have DLC you pay for. It's all included with the game. I will give them money. And I had no problems doing the microtransaction there because I was like, I just felt like, dude, you guys have made an amazing game. Why would I not want to continue to support you? Whereas some people feel the exact opposite. Like, yeah, I think when free games happened, that fucked everything up. Like, people just expect so much for free, and that really sucks for people that, because real fast, everybody, people make these games to make money. I don't know if anybody else knows that or not, but, you talk about how awesome a game is, and then all of a sudden the developer's gone, and you wonder why. Because they weren't making enough money. People got to make money in order to make cool shit. So support game companies you like, and also buy new games. Please, don't buy used shit. Like, go buy new games because you're going to help the people that make the game continue to make games.
That's your PSA for the day.
There you go, right? I'll just put that in the show notes. Buy new games. Don't buy shit at GameStop. I'm just playing. So, obviously, though, you've continued on. It sounds like you had a GameCube. You've kind of continued on the games. Did you just continue? Did you ever get to a point where you stopped playing games or anything, or did you just kind of continue on with gaming?
So there was a period in time, I think it was probably the 360 generation, where I didn't play as much, just because I was so busy with life. At that point in time, I was a full-time student in college, working full-time, and also had other stuff that I was doing that I just didn't have time for gaming. So there were a few years, like 2 or 3 years of that generation, that I didn't really play any games. I just, you don't have time for everything you'd like to. There might have been a time, like once or twice, where I turned an Xbox on and just, boot up Geometry Wars or something like that. But that's kind of like the comfort food of that generation for me. Was if I had time and I wanted to do something real quick, I would probably just jump on Geometry Wars because it was a great game. But that was probably the only time that I would stop gaming. The current generation, I mean, I've been busy a lot too, as life continues to get more complex and things happen and you have kids and you have responsibilities, that you don't get to play as much as you want to, but never really stopped gaming. I've never stopped. I've always kind of adapted, just altered my schedule a little bit, possibly, and maybe try to get, different game times going.
Right.
Or, I got the Nintendo Switch to take it with me on these types of trips that I go on all the time. Although it hardly ever leaves my bag because I'm so exhausted and tired that I just don't have time to actually play it.
Right.
And then there's, I've never really been a mobile gamer, like on my phone or my iPad or anything. I don't know. I just don't find gaming on those type of devices fun. I have games. I tried the PUBG thing recently on iOS, and it looked okay, but I cannot control a game like that on my phone. It's just I can't. And I refuse to play those little games while all you're doing is popping colors, because that's just mindless and doesn't do anybody any good.
Right. No, I mean, as far as it goes with, I will say, for a brief period of time, Game Boy and Pokemon was a good chunk of my life. Like, I played a ton of that. But, yeah, as far as the mobile games and the phones, obviously the Switch is literally the perfect solution for what everybody has wanted. Everybody wanted console-quality gaming on the go. And now you have it. Like, the fact that you could play Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey and everything is incredible. Like, you can literally play that shit anywhere you want, which is what we've always wanted. The mobile phone thing for me, there's certain games that I'm like, this is cool, but no, the fact, like, certain games, like the fact that you play a game, like, to mimic a game that has physical buttons on a touchscreen is not cool. Like, I cannot do that shit. So, yeah, I mean, it's just stupid and everything. I personally like certain games, like, just, I'm with you, though, as well, as, like, moving a button or moving a color to match another color. Yeah, that shit's stupid. But certain games, for example, is I skateboard a lot, and there's a game called True Skate, which is basically what I've done with my fingers pretending to skateboard since I've been skateboarding. Like, I'll use my fingers and pretend they're feet, and this game is basically that. And I'm like, this is kind of cool because this is tying into something else I like. But no, I'm not one of those that will play, I won't download an emulator for an NES and play that on my phone because no. Sorry, I need physical buttons. I need something in my hands to play with it. And the cool thing I saw is, I think it was Hyperkin made a thing that attached you plugged your phone into it, and it was basically emulating Game Boy games, but you actually could put Game Boy carts in, which is crazy. But
I haven't seen that.
That works. Yeah, there's some attachment. I don't know if it ever came out or not, but yeah, that's basically what's going on and everything. So, they have like I said, I'm trying to think if it actually came out. It was at a CES. Like, they had a Samsung phone that basically went into a device. You literally put Game Boy carts in, and it perfectly emulated a Game Boy. It had physical buttons. But again, like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not trying to carry around that big brick like I had before to put a phone into it.
Exactly, right? I mean, that's kind of defeats the purpose of that mobile gaming. It's not really on the go at that point, because it's not something that you can just grab out of your pocket and just roll with. You have to have a plan. You have to have this attachment. You have to have a time and an opportunity to actually use it. So it just kind of defeats that purpose of the on-the-go mentality from my perspective, at least.
Yeah, I mean, certain games, like I said, it works well with. I guess it just depends on the type of game it is. When they port over some of these games, like I've seen them port over some RPGs and like games over to mobile. Like, for example, Grand Theft Auto 3 is on mobile. What? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to do that on a portable, on a touchscreen. Like, I don't want to do that. But if you were to say, hey, Grand Theft Auto's on a Switch, I'd be like, yes, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Get physical buttons. I appreciate that. But no, I mean, the mobile, and again, the problem is now is mobile phone games have made everything free, so nobody wants to pay for games anymore. Well, mobile, at least have mobile. Like, but the other problem is now is one of the most popular games out there is Fortnite, which is 100% free. Like, you don't have to pay for Fortnite at all, and that kind of sucks because now people are going to slowly start to expect games to be cheaper and cheaper or free, and that kind of devalues the game, and then they'll realize there's microtransactions in this game. Yeah, but you also didn't pay for it. Like, you can't have it both ways. They can't just make a game for free. They have to pay people to make it. So, sorry.
Right. Developers gotta eat, too.
Yeah, exactly, right? They gotta eat, man. They got families and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's okay. But, as far as it goes now, so, like I said, obviously you're doing a lot of traveling now. I get the whole, being tired. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, cool, I'm going to play a little Far Cry. And I'm just like, no, like, I just can't do this. Like, so, like, do you, as far as it goes now, is that kind of your gaming habits now? Do you try to carve out time? Like, do you have your own family now? Are you married? Do you have kids? Like, do you have, like, any particular time set aside to play games now on?
I am married and then we have a 4-month-old now, so.
Oh, that's
my gaming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
My gaming, Mike, thank you. My gaming time is evaporated away. To very, very minuscule amounts if it ever actually does, take place. But what I am able to do sometimes is maybe in the evenings when he goes to bed and I got like an hour or two where I could maybe hop online and play something and my buddies are online. Those are the times that I really want to hop online and play something. It's just A, if I have an hour at least to play something, or B, if I see my buddies are online, hop on and they're in PUBG or something like that. I want to hop online and play some PUBG with them or something. That's really kind of been my MO for the past 4 months.
Right. I mean, have you noticed the types of games you play changed ever since that? Because now, like, I'm in the same boat as you where I have kids, I have a family. It's hard for me to put 90 hours into a single player game. Like, do you notice your gaming habits change since that's been happening?
Well, I definitely enjoy the Telltale games quite a bit because they're 2-hour chunks pretty much, and you can get that complete story, and and they're episodic, so it's just kind of whenever they come out, you can spend 2 hours in a night to do it. Those are perfect for me. But I did play through, and it was mostly before he came, but the latest Assassin's Creed Origins game, in which I put like 100 hours probably into that. But the thing with that is that I found myself being able to just kind of hop on and just kind of zone out and just listen to a podcast, just kind of relax and not even pay much attention to the game and just kind of wander around and just kind of explore the map. And that's really where all that time came from. Because, I had completed the story and I was just kind of getting the extra little things to get like the 100% type stuff going on. And just finding all the stuff around there, exploring Egypt was just fantastic, and seeing all of the stuff that it had to have on the screen. And on the Xbox One X, it just looks fantastic. So I don't have a problem with long games per se. However, if I am away for them for too long, I forget the controls, and then I have to try to understand that all thing again. So if, like, for instance, The Witcher, I still haven't completed the Blood and Wine DLC. I'm probably about halfway or more through it at this point. But I feel like I've been away long enough now that I'll forget the controls. I'll need to go back in and understand all the stuff again, and the new mutagens that they introduced and everything else. And it's just, when it's complex like that, yeah, I it's a little bit more difficult. But with like Assassin's Creed, and it doesn't change much. You can kind of leave and come back. That's okay. But one thing I don't have any time for or patience or want to even try is like the Bloodborne type games or whatever. And just, I do not play games to get frustrated or to just waste time by dying a million times. Nobody's got time for that. I don't have time for that. You might. I don't.
Nope.
So more power to you.
Yeah, that's again. What's funny is like I'm in the same boat with you where like I like quick chunks that you can do. You can come back, do some little more here, come back. Like I'm definitely a fan of that. Origins was incredible for that. And little quality of life things that are stupid. The fact that you can set a waypoint and have your camel just like go and just go to the place you want to go. So I could talk to my daughter real fast. Like I'll be like, hold on, click, click, click. All right, sweetie, what do you need? So I could at least like, have the game doing its thing. If you liked Origins, Far Cry 5 is perfect because it literally Ubisoft is, as bad as it sounds, Ubisoft is basically taking each formula of the game and like in Far Cry, it's the same shit. You can set a waypoint. You can get in a car, hit a button, and it auto drives there. So again, like if you liked how those little quick chunks of AC Origins is, Far Cry 5 is literally that same thing. I've been able to quickly play 45 minutes to an hour, feel like I'm doing something, and then stop and then come back. So it's been, been really good as far as that goes. But that's what I've been appreciating lately with how Ubisoft's been doing their games, but other games too. I mean, I've been more into single player games ever since I've had the family, just because to get super good at an online game, you have to put in the time, and I just don't have it. You know what I mean? It's just hard. Like PUBG's like the closest thing lately that I found where I won't say you don't need skill for the game, because you definitely do in order for you to get close to a chicken dinner, but also too, everybody's at that same point where the game is broken, so like the game is a fucking mess, but it's fun. It's a really fun mess, and you get that thrill each time you play it. Like if you get to the point where you hear somebody, it doesn't matter if you played that same thing, if you've had that same moment 100 times, it still gets you each time. It really does. Dude, when you hear somebody, you will straight just be like you almost stop breathing in real life thinking it's going to help your character in the game, but it doesn't. But I mean, it's awesome. And then when you see somebody that like, holy shit, there's a person, and you go kill them, it's just like, that's the thing that I've found that's like kind of the middle ground, right? I need a quick, fun time online with friends. I can do that, or I can do Wolfenstein or Evil Within or AC Origins or now Far Cry. Like Far Cry's taken over my life until God of War, and then God of War will probably take over my life. But yeah, that's kind of what's been changing and everything, especially the more, obviously I have 3 kids here. I have another one who lives in Illinois who visits me during the summer. My gaming time is very limited, especially when I'm off work and the only thing my kids want to do is see me, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll get like an hour. I've actually done it where I've woken up early to play games just so I have alone time to play games. Like, all right, I really want to play. I can't do it at night. I'm just going to wake up like an hour early before I have to take the kids to school and just get some gaming in that way.
Yeah, I'm not an early morning guy, like, at all. So, if it's not late night, it's not happening for me.
Right. Well, I mean, again, as long as you, especially if you have someone who understands that this is what you do and this is how you have fun and everything, because I know there's some significant others that get on their spouse for whatever reason for playing games, but, my wife knows, like, hey, I play games. This is what I do. I'm not going out and doing other things I shouldn't. Like, this is what I do. I play games. And, also, too, the cool thing is if she needs me for something, I'm here. So she can just be like, hey, real quick, I need you. By the way, shout out to Ubisoft for pausable cutscenes. You guys are the real MVP. I love you so much. Anybody who doesn't have pausable cutscenes can go straight to hell because you guys suck. I missed story because my daughter needs something out of the fridge. Thanks a lot, guys. So, as far as it goes now, what are you, like, do you play, like, if people wanted to reach out to you and see the things you're doing, where would they go check you out at?
If anybody wants to reach out to me, which I don't know why you would want to, because I'm incredibly boring and, like I said, have no time to play anything. I'm on Twitter over at Voiced by Nathan, but I'm on Xbox at Spider Jedi. Also on Sony's platform, whatever they call that, the PlayStation 4 these days.
Yeah, PlayStation Network.
Yeah, I'm over there, Spider Jedi as well, but I'm hardly ever on that system. I got a Switch, so if you hit me up on Twitter, I can give you my Nintendo ID, because they like to make things difficult.
That's the saddest thing. If you remember your Nintendo friend code, there's something fucking wrong with you. It's really easy to remember a gamer tag that you create and everything, but when it comes to a friend code, if you know that off the top, there's something wrong. You shouldn't know that fucking code off the top of your head. Everybody should have to find it. It's like, what's your friend code? Oh shit, I don't know. Give me 5 minutes so I can find where it's at.
Exactly. Gotta find mine, take a picture, I'll snap it to you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
You can also find stuff I put out over at the That's Entertaining movie podcast that I do monthly, and then over at the PSVG, the Play Some Video Games network, we have podcasts over there. If you like Xbox, I'm usually the guy that talks Xbox over there, so have to it.
There you go. And everybody, you should enjoy talking Xbox. I know everybody hates on it, but whatever. By the way, I'm right there with you, though, where I have a PS4 literally solely for the Sony exclusive single-player games, because Horizon's fucking awesome, and God of War looks fucking awesome, and Spider-Man looks really good, so I'll enjoy those. But, yeah, everything. I have an Xbox One X. Why would I buy a game on any other console if it's on that? Sorry.
Well, and as soon as Sacrifice is coming out, and the Crash trilogy's coming out, and there's another one that was recently, No Man's Sky, that's coming on Xbox now too, so maybe Spider-Man one day will find his way over on the old Xbox.
Possibly. But also, too, I felt bad for people with Tomb Raider, for example, because, Rise of the Tomb Raider was such a good game. And the fact that it came out a year later and nobody gave a shit about it on PlayStation bummed me out, because that game was such a good game. The fact that Crash is coming out, I think is cool, because I think people still care about that. Dude, I'm going to be shocked if No Man's Sky does anything on Xbox. That game hasn't been talked about or mentioned or a news article. Obviously there's a core group of people that will clamor over every bit of news, but you don't hear anybody else mentioning it. And all of a sudden they were just it was weird, because it was almost like hey, by the way, No Man's Sky is coming out on Xbox. I was like, what the fuck? That's happening? Okay, I guess that's cool. So,
yeah.
No,
I don't have any desire to play No Man's Sky. That's one of those games that I just don't have time for.
Yeah, again, that was that's the downfall of games getting pushed or hyped too much and then disappointing when they're not perfect. And it sucks, but also, too, some companies are guilty of overpromising, and I think they were one. But some people just hype up games. Example, Death Stranding. Game is way too hyped. It's way too hyped. Everybody's going to come out and they want to see perfection. They want to see next level shit. They want to see 10 out of 10 all the way across. And if that thing's a 9 out of 10, people are going to be pissed. And it sucks, but look what happened to Duke Nukem Forever. Look what happened to any of the games that take 10 years to make or overpromise. That's what usually happens.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's all right. Well, thank you very much, sir. And again, if you want to check out any of the things he's doing, I'll have links in the show notes for all of the above so you can see everything he's doing. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for talking Star Wars with me, because I am so down to talk about Star Wars whenever.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. All right, and again, thank you, Nathan, for being on the show. If you guys want to follow anything he's doing, go ahead and follow him at Voiced by Nathan on Twitter. All one word, no underscores. You can also check out the podcast he's on. He also is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast, so you can definitely check him out there as well. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Of course, you can catch it on iTunes or Google Play or TuneIn Radio or YouTube, which is awesome. Go ahead and just look up Growing Up Gaming Podcast. We also have a Facebook group for that. Just search up Growing Up Gaming in Facebook and you'll find the group there as well. Bunch of cool people posting some nice things in there. So again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. I am close to my 1 year mark, which I really didn't think I would ever get this far with this show, but thanks to all your guys' support, thanks to all the awesome guests I've had on the show, I'm almost there, and I cannot wait to celebrate that with you guys. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you guys next week. See ya.